The dream of every knight is to have his name sung by the bards, so that their gallant deeds may endure the ages when their mortal forms perish. For a tiny portion of knights this becomes a reality, for only the greatest tales live forever. Pelinal Whitestrake, the renowned divine crusader, was one of these knights. His song wasn't a mere ballad. His was written in the form of an 8-volume book, and his name lives on, steeped in wonder, as having played a significant part in creating the prosperous Cyrodiilic Empire. The only thing more well known than his bravery and prowess in combat is his hatred for the elves. He has been mistaken for a god many times, including the Nordic god Shor himself, and some legends even suggest that Pelinal was no mere mortal, but was in fact closely linked to Akatosh. His name derives from the elven name Pelinal, which means star-made knight. In this video, we'll be condensing the immense achievements and occurrences in Pelinal's life into bite-sized chunks, and it all started in the Merethic era. Pelinal was first seen in the late Merethic era and simply spent this time wandering Tamriel, amassing armies, waging wars, conquering lands, and living the chivalrous life. But his role in history became vastly more significant in the First Era during the Elysian Rebellion. At this time, Pelinal Whitestrake was making a name for himself in the forests of Cyrodiil as he chopped down Aelids. His historic hatred for elves was unexplained, but that didn't matter to Elysia and her rebel horde, as they would take any help they could get. Pelinal heard of her defiance and respected her intrepidness. He came to her aid and appeared before her wielding a sword in one hand and a mace in the other. Both were coated in the entrails of elves he'd slain. Pelinal joined her cause and became one of her champions alongside Morahouse, Alysia's bull lover. Whitestrake was bold. He made a habit of challenging noteworthy Aelid representatives to pre-arranged duels, hoping to prey on their pride and their responsibility to portray an illusion of power to the Mer. Elysia and Morahouse took care of the mass warfare, while Whitestrake targeted the key figures. His first major victim was Haramir of Copper and Tea, whom he challenged to a duel at the Tor. This battle ended with Pelinal eating Haramir's neck veins while screaming praise to Riemann. The name Riemann is well known in Imperial history, but not at this point in time. This is the first instance in Pelinal Whitestrake's life that suggests an affinity with the divine. In fact, there are some interesting theories that go as far to say Whitestrake's connection to Akatosh, despite not being identified as a dragonborn, meant that he was in fact able to manipulate time. Another really interesting part of the theory even claimed that Pelinal's link to Akatosh and the stars meant he was a cyborg and his left hand was made of a killing light. And before you call us crazy, let me clarify that all of this evidence comes straight from the in-game 8 volumes of the Song of Pelinal. Other Aelid kings ticked off Whitestrake's hit list were Gordor the Shaper and Hadhul. Within a year, he had driven the Aelid armies beyond the Niben and won all of the eastern lands of Cyrodiil for Elysia. He eventually conquered the north too, and when the Nords of Skyrim saw him at the Bridge of Helden, covered in the blood of Aelids, they proclaimed him as their god, Shor. The last hit on Pelinal's list was the mightiest Aelid king of them all. When they approached the White Gold Tower, Umril the Unfeathered challenged Pelinal to a duel, and despite the clear trepidation on the faces of his allies, he scorned them for their cowardice and marched into the city. Umril was coined to be one of the greatest warriors to ever live, yet when Pelinal marched boldly into his domain, the Unfeathered king set an onslaught of soldiers to weaken the Divine Crusader. After that, the Aelid Sorcerer Kings followed to weaken him further. Eventually growing tired of the frivolities, Pelinal smashed the ground with his weapons, sending splinters of stone in every direction. By the time Umril left his vantage point to enter the battlefield, the Crusader was bleeding. With Whitestrake injured, the two fighters were evenly matched, and they both sustained severe wounds. Pelinal defeated Umril by shattering his unfeathered wings, yet he wasn't done there. He proceeded to mock the dead king, insulting his half-elf blood and the blood of every other descendant of Elnofey. Slighted by his remarks, the Sorcerer Kings regained their composure after backing off so cravenly before. The weakened Crusader was overwhelmed, and they eventually slew him. They didn't give him a quick death either. Instead, they sliced him into 8 pieces, a symbolic number. Pelinal's dying scream resonated enough to wake Elysia and her council, and that morning they retaliated, ordering an attack on the city. The only resistance left in the city were the Sorcerer Kings Pelinal hadn't already slain, and they were running for the second time. You'd think being split into 8 pieces and decapitated would be enough to keep someone from having an idle conversation, but when Morahouse charged the city in search of his friend, he found only the head of Whitestrake, and they conversed like old chums for a long time. Before his death, the Crusader realized that Umriel had in fact survived the battle. How exactly he knew that is unclear, but this guy seems to be consistently capable of pulling off feats thought impossible. Another part of the story which seems to favor the time travel theory is that the records show Pelinal as being present at Empress Alicia's deathbed, even though that was several years after his death. Pelinal's final appearance was to the hero of Kvatch in the Third Era, where he appeared to warn him of Umriel's return. And so ended Pelinal Whitestrake's tale. He made his mark on history, becoming a hero to Imperials for his efforts freeing Cyrodiil from Elven oppression. Subscribe to FudgeMuppet for more Elder Scrolls lore, and give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, links can be found in the description below. As always, thanks so much for watching, I'm Scott, and I will see you next time.